Becky, are you there?
I think she's drinking again. I just don't know what to do with her anymore.
Why do you have to keep an eye on her? Isn't she supposed to be the mom?
I know. I keep telling myself that she'll get better.
Yeah, but when? Becky, she's dragging you down, can't you see?
Hey guys, we have Alex DePinto today. Alex is an actor friend. He's a huge part of Trapped, our film. So Alex, please introduce yourself to everybody.
My name's Alex DePinto. Been friends with Ejaz at least a decade now. We met in acting school. He was nice enough to allow me to be a part of Trap, the film, and gave me such an important role. And I am forever grateful. I think it's a powerful film, and I think it's going to do a lot of good. And I think it's important that it's getting out there.
Before you got involved with Trapped, what kind of knowledge or information did you have regarding sex trafficking and abuse in the United States?
I had no idea how big of a problem sex trafficking was in the United States, let alone in the world. I mean, like, you hear things here and there, you know, you might see movies that depict a scene or two or something like that, but the gravity of the situation, I had no idea.
Why do you think in our society we like to, hush hush this topic and not talk about it?
I have no idea why this is not talked about more. As somebody who thinks all these things should be discussed at as early of an age as possible, I just couldn't fathom why it's not. I think that it's important for parents to discuss with their children that this is in fact reality and that this happens. It's unfortunate, but I think that putting it out there to your children, especially, it affects men and women, boys and girls, but at an early age, I think that parents need to intervene and tell their parents that this is something that happens. You know, it's a shit world we live in. There's bad people out there, and unfortunately, this is something that we have to look out for. I think when the parents intervene at an early age, then maybe the kid, whether they're 11 or 12 or 13 years old, they will get the idea in their head, okay, this is a possibility. This is something I need to look out for. This is something I need to stay away from and to make sure that I don't get sucked into this, because I think that it can happen whether you know it's happening or not.
I came across this statistic: 250,000 children in the United States every year get trafficked. I'm not speaking about abuse, because abuse is like put at the side and hush hushed, but I'm speaking about openly trafficked. And the person that's trafficking are their loved ones, so to speak, right? Most of the 250,000 kids that are trafficked by the first touch, they call it, right? The first, maybe the uncle, the father, the mother, the aunt, the best friend, or so on and so forth. And that to me is very, very surprising, but yet everybody's hush hush about it. So, in your opinion, what do you think about our film? You're rubbing it in their face, so to speak. Are we doing the right thing?
Absolutely. 250,000 kids. I feel like you can't even fathom what that actually is, but that's annually, and that's just in the United States. So imagine what's going on around the world. Um, I I think that this needs to be talked about way more than it is, and the movie Trapped is doing a great job at bringing it to the forefront so people can see what actually happens, and an individual story too, watching how it develops and how it happens. And I think it's so important to get the word out there. I don't know why it's not discussed more. I don't know why the police or the FBI or whoever it is that deals with these cases doesn't bring it to the forefront more the way that you did making Trapped. I think it's something that people are unaware of.
You have or know anyone in your personal life that's been trafficked or sex abused?
I'm very lucky that I don't know anybody in my life that's been affected by this. I have two sisters, a mom and a wife who comes from South Africa, and just she's just so lucky that something like that never happened growing up in such a dangerous country. And then coming here, she also didn't know about these statistics. These were new to her when you and I discussed it with my wife. She had no idea. So this is not something that's talked about casually here. It's not something that's discussed at all. I don't know why people are so hush hush about it, but it definitely should not be that way.
Do you also know that more than half of the people that are sex trafficked are trafficked and abused by someone familiar in their life, like, uncle, aunt, mom, dad, brother, sister, and then they're trafficked by the same people. Um, do you think these kind of statistics should be out there, and how do you think we should put it out there for people to know?
I can't fathom, I can't even wrap my head around that a family member would do something like this, because it is like the purest, most evil thing you can do. To take a child who's so innocent and to throw them into this like demonic world of being abused is so messed. I can't even wrap my head around it. I think it's ridiculous. In terms of how to get the word out there, I think that movies like this are great. I think that, hey, remember when they used to put missing children on the milk cartons? Why not put children's faces who are sex trafficked with some information and statistics? I think that hey, everybody buys milk, and it might seem silly to say that, but if it's sitting in everybody's house, they're going to be looking at it and they're going to be seeing it and they're going to at least know that not everyone's voluntarily Googling statistics about sex trafficking.
I have started to interview girls who have been sex trafficked. I've started to interview FBI agents who have want this to go and spread viral. So because everybody should know about this. I have undercover sting operation managers who have spoken to me where what they do, how to trap and catch these sex predators. And everybody says one thing. One thing is in common, that it's your family that does this first to you. One of the undercover cops said to me, a 7-year-old girl was trafficked by her mother and her father at a truck stop. And
Yeah.
this is here. This is happening in America. So, of course, my wife is not going to go Google something like that. Your wife is not going to go Google something like that. So I think the idea that you bring is great, but we need to have companies to want to do this, because I'm a
Right.
small filmmaker, we're not there, but if the bigger guys can get involved some way to bring awareness, because I was so ignorant in this field before I got involved. I'm sure you were as well.
Like I said, you hear little stories here and there, but the magnitude of how it's happening and how often it's happening and that parents are involved, you can only imagine it's parents who are addicted to drugs doing that or have severe mental illness, but still, I don't know how they can intervene to not have children, especially as young as 7, being brought into this disturbing world. That's just absolutely crazy. I think just more needs to be done about it. I don't know what's going on with the FBI, and I do see things, arrests happening and such, and I love when that happens. I love when these child sex predators are taken away, but are they going away long enough? What's happening when they come out of jail? Are they continuing to do this sort of behavior? Also, I'm sure this is happening just so much more and so much more often and in so many more places than the police even know or are involved with.
I have come across people who have gone through this and are really shameful. Do you think they should be?
And that's heartbreaking to hear that someone who's going to go through this horrible thing's going to then get out of it and then feel guilty like they're the one that caused it, or that they wouldn't have happened if it wasn't them. But it's just unfortunate that this is a world we live in with evil people, and some people are lucky enough to not have this happen to them in their entire lives, and others are not so lucky, and that's really unfortunate. But I mean, the only thing that we can do is bring awareness to it.
In your mind, Alex, Once someone is sex abused or the hint of it or trafficked, what do you think they should do if their family is not supportive of it?
I had somebody in my family older than me when she was very young, 12 years old. I found out later in life that she was being abused sexually by by a friend of a relative, a very close family friend. This is something that I didn't know for 30 years of my life, and I just kind of found out a few years ago. And it's just so sad to me that this was happening through a family friend that you thought was going to be providing, positivity and helping, but instead was just completely taking away the innocence of this person and mentally just screwing them up for, what takes decades to heal. And it's just so sad. These women and young boys, they need some sort of support group outside of their family. And it shouldn't be so stigmatized. I think that this should be, since it's such a huge problem that millions of people just in the United States go through, this needs to be something that gets discussed, and they need support just like anybody else. It's ridiculous.
Are you happy that you know all this information? Are you sad that you know all this information? And are you more alert of this situation around you?
You're happy you're aware of this and that maybe there's a possibility you can intervene at some point in like a real life situation, but then you're sad to think about the reality of it and how many people are affected by it, right? Because it's not like they go home when they're done being sex trafficked and it's back to normal. It's this person was so mentally screwed up, whether this was over many years or many weeks. It's just not something that a person is supposed to go through. So to have that happen to them is really sad to me, because I know that it doesn't just it screws them up in such a big way. Like, you're never going to be the same again. The amount of therapy that you're going to have to go through just to be normal
Yeah.
is ridiculous. And that's just from selfish people doing selfish things and doing it just for themselves, just to make a little bit of money. And it's like, I wish I could line up all those Johns and just, just go to town. And I would love to just, like, it's horrible.
What would you do if you found out that there's someone around you or, someone you know, or maybe not, who is doing something like that? Like, what would you do to them, or how would you handle it?
If that happened to somebody I knew, God forbid, like one of my little sister, I would I would have no problem spending the rest of my life in jail as long as I could torture the person that did that to her. Like, I don't even want to think about it because it's going to rile me up so much,
How do people do this to their own family members?
I think child sex traffic is worse than murder. Like, these poor people, like, you're putting them through torture again and again every day, over and over. And it's just like, I can't, it's disturbing to think about.
National television, can the government run a ad every day, once a day?
Our education system is so screwed up, and we learn things that we're never going to have to use ever. But how about instead of A squared plus B squared, we learn a little bit about sex trafficking? Just get the word out. Stop stigmatizing it. The less we don't talk about it, the more it's going to be a problem.
How do you think our film Trapped is going to affect people who only look at films, movies as entertainment?
This being such a real life situation that happens to people every day, I think that it's important to be seen. I think you made a film that is going to be entertaining and eye-opening and enlightening, and hopefully it'll make it less stigmatized to talk about, because it's something that needs to be discussed. And I think people should see this movie and they should talk about it with their kids and their family members.
Today, the film is completed, and I think we all are going to be very, very proud of the film.
I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to the world seeing your film.